Hello everyone. This is Simiran Choudhary and I welcome you all on behalf of Voice of Healthcare to our special series Voice of Healthcare Incubator Visionaries Unplugged. With this series, we aim to interact with mentors, leaders, experts who are into this field of healthcare so that we, as a healthcare industry media platform, as well as to the others who are the aspiring startup founders or actually working in the startup field, can learn from the practical leaders who are actually working in the field in the ground and take that insights into their startups and can achieve success at early age, or let's say could minimize the rate of mistakes from the insights of our leaders. So before proceeding, I would like to welcome Mr. Neeraj Lal, Chief Operating Officer of Apollo Hospital, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Welcome to our show, sir.
Thank you, Simran, for having me on your show. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you on our show. But before proceeding, I would just like to give a brief about Neeraj. So, you have done an immense work. There's a lot thing, a big experience comes with you. I might not be able to cover everything, but little bit I know. I would just like to explain to our audience. And if by mistake I have left anything, then do correct me and or do come into that.
Yeah, right.
So, Mr. Neeraj comes with 22 years of healthcare management experience, and he's a specialist in healthcare operations. And his expertise lies in strategizing, restructuring key areas such as revenue growth planning, education and business turnaround, industry connects, budgeting, fiscal management, health system optimization, and much more to it. And he has work experience with Medicover Hospital India as Senior Vice President Operations, Rainbow Hospital Bangalore as Vice President and Cluster Head, Sunshine Global Hospital, Baroda as Group Chief Officer Operating BAPS Hospital, and the other prominent organizations like Shalby Hospital Ahmedabad and Sterling Hospital Ahmedabad as well. So this was a brief introduction I could cover or assess, but let me please correct if I'm wrong somewhere or I've left anything.
Right. I think you're right.
Thank you, sir. So, proceeding with the episode today, the topic we are going to cover is the scaling healthcare services. That is
Right.
insights from the hospital administration. That is you. So, it is our honor that we have connected with you, and we'll get a great insight from you because आपसे ज़्यादा better experience और किसी के पास नहीं हो सकता.
Right.
So starting with the administration, I would or our audience would like to first understand what exactly is administration. How do you define administration in terms of healthcare services?
Actually, what I feel administration or management, like most of the people say, is management. You have to manage or administrate people, right? So if you're managing services, if you're managing people, if you are managing process, at the same time you are monitoring them whether they're happening as per targets or as per goals or the vision what the promoter or the company has laid down. I think that is in short about management or administration.
Very well said, sir. But I believe administration or management always comes with the challenges itself. It looks very small. It looks very अच्छा ठीक है daily mundane job, but it actually impacts the flow of a work. Let's say if administration is not proper in a hospital, hospital won't be able to survive.
Right.
So, what are the challenges when we are scaling in healthcare service? And if in that way, I have to ask, like, what a budding startup can learn from it.
Okay, actually, hospital services is very, very complex, right? I always feel here you are managing doctors who are MCH, DMs, and a qualified individual, and also you are managing people who are housekeeping or patient care attendant who are simply, 10th class, 12th class, or graduate. So here it is a labor intensive and it is a capital intensive. We have Linac, we have class 100 OTs, we have ventilator and whatnot, we have CT scan and MRI. But the challenge with hospital while you are scaling up services, because we are not replicating a product, here.
Yeah.
We are replicating the services which is rendered by human beings, right?
Yeah.
So, and there was certain set of core values which has come up from the founders,
Hmm.
the ethos for that company. So by keeping the same, you have to scale up. Over a
Correct.
period of time, people lost their vision and mission, and they keep on scaling. So I think if you have I see there is one book by John Doerr, Measure What Matters. So if you are measuring these services in a continuous way and a periodical way, I think we can able to scale very easily. Scaling cannot happen with a dilution of brand ethos, right? So
Yeah.
if you have, say for example, a Cleveland Clinic, if you are replicating Cleveland Clinic, so a brand dilution cannot be there. So
Correct.
therefore, you have to keep measuring the way you work in the hospital. There are so many metrics which is available, like operational metrics, service excellence metrics, quality metrics, and all. So if you are measuring on a time-to-time basis and see where you're going, I think that is a way we need to scale up healthcare services. Like say, for example, in Apollo, what do we do? We track services which we extend to our patient in the form of various things, like say for example NPS, right?
Hmm.
Net promoter score, which we further drill down to OPD NPS, IPD NPS, post discharge calling NPS, and a post closure NPS. So this is four format. So we see, okay, what is the NPS score for OPD patient, what is the what is the IPD score for the IPD patient, post discharge by calling them, and post case closure. So if you measure these things, I think hospital services revolve around patients. Every
Hmm.
services revolve around patient. So if
Correct.
we give direct insight to what customer think about us, the feedback collection, you see, it is very, very important. So we have created a robust CRM management system, which we get insight from the customer, and we go to the pull down level, and we see what is the TET which you are giving these services. So this is happening, like say for example, OPD waiting time, the waiting time for the blood investigation, radiological investigation. So you are doing, somebody is doing in 10 minutes, somebody is doing 30 minutes, somebody is doing 1 hour. So if you set a goal, if you set a
Hmm.
target, say for example, your waiting time in the OPD should not be more than 15 minutes. And
Correct.
if on month basis it is going beyond, so you have to correct this services. Say for example, your waiting time or the discharge tab is going up. So if you keep on monitoring on a month basis, so that is a challenge. And there, if you are scaling, we have to maintain that. Say for
Hmm.
example, I always think about McDonaldization of healthcare. You
Yeah.
visit McDonald or a Starbucks of Ahmedabad or a Delhi or a Mumbai. When you
Yeah.
go inside, I think everything remains same.
Correct.
The way they make your coffee, they make your burger. So because they are measuring these metrics, so
Hmm.
in healthcare, if you measure these metric, you can scale up fast. So I think total number of McDonald's and Starbucks are growing like anything, so they are just replicating with keeping the core values same. So in Apollo, we are trying to do that. We are taking care of these metrics, operational, service excellence, and measure on a periodical basis. And we compare, like we are a group of 74 hospitals across the country, and we say how many, where the hospitals stand, and we
Yeah.
grow from there. So I think what you're talking about, how startup can learn from these experiences, if they can build on these metrics, because it should
Hmm.
not be manually driven. If they can build on these metrics, the dashboards, the power BMIs, so it will help us, the team, to monitor the progress and the patient experience, and it will help us to replicate and scale up the healthcare services.
Yes, sir. Very well said. Because if we talk about the matrix, like the the time was 15 minutes and now it's going up. Or the example you gave of McDonald's and Starbucks, it's just the process they're following, the matrix they're following, right? And that is the way we call the efficient working. If the time is
Mm.
increasing, work is the same, then I believe
Yeah,
it's not the efficiency. It's just the gap or some lagging
true,
behind it. And
true.
that is not a correct example of I'll say a proper soundproof management.
Hmm. Like say for example, so many feedbacks are coming across, right? Coming
Yeah.
from OPD, coming from IPD, and it ranges from billing, your housekeeping, your nurses, everything. And if you see the frequently asked questions or the frequently asked work, if you pull all those words and you see and you work on those things, So somehow, if a startup can come in and see these are the feedback which is regularly coming, if you take care of those feedbacks, I think you can
Yeah.
improve the services, you can improve your OP and IP NPS, and then maybe that model you can replicate while scaling the services.
That way, so feedback is one of the very important way where we can, improve or scale up easily or very well according to exactly what our customer want and what is the exact need, the pinch what we are missing,
Right,
right? That
right,
there.
right.
And when it comes to scaling up a healthcare sector, or let's say a hospital, how important is the patient centricity when you're scaling up a healthcare? And how do you go about it? Like, I know if you're going from 10 beds to 100 beds, you need 90 more beds or 90, or let's say a few more machines, doctors, nurses, and more space. But how do you go about it? What is the process? What is the planning, strategizing, and a to-do steps which the budding startups can exactly learn from step by step from you.
No, I think these days patient experiences is becoming a very important part into the healthcare, because patient centricity and patient experience matter the most in healthcare industry. Because if you see, there is a rising competition, there's a changing customer expectations, like hybrid, physical, digital. So there is no monopoly driven industry anymore now. So only efficiency can drive profits. People have to
Correct.
understand that. So if you also have to invest in the term of money and time towards creating this system. So if system is there which is giving better patient experiences, like I always say, the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he
Yeah.
used to say they're not obsessed with the competitors, they're
Hmm.
obsessed with the customer experience. So if you are bothered about competition, I think you are not doing the right thing. So you should be bothered or obsessed about patient or customer experience.
Hmm.
So if you are taking care of customer experience, or which revolve around patient centricity, so because now these days customer or patient got many options.
Yes.
So if you are taking care of these patients, I think you are doing a good job. So I'll give you example, like what we do, we have a chairman round.
Hmm.
So every HOD in the hospitals are given certain rooms into the hospital. Like, say, for example, we are 300 bedded hospital. So any new admission, you have around 70, 80 new admission. So every HOD, maybe different verticals, HR, operations, customer care, billing. So they take 10 rooms along with them. And every day they behave like chairman is visiting to the patients. So we say a chairman round. So they go to the patient and talk to the patient, because the new patient is getting admitted. So how was their experience, right? They're happy with the doctors, they're happy with nurses, how much time they spend in admission, whether the food which is given to them it is right, whether doctor take time in hearing their issues, the rooms are clean or not. So, and you got tremendous result once these people visit, because they are not from that area, they're
Yeah.
the HODs of different areas, and
Correct.
they go and behave like chairman and do like chairman is visiting. And when you combine all these issues and concerns, I think 50-60% remains same.
Yeah.
So our entire experience of Apollo is revolving around patient centricity. If you see the Apollo buildings, we don't have a great grand buildings, but our entire processes, yeah, clinical processes, the operational processes, and the quality processes revolve around them. We do three audit, believe it. We do 360-degree audit where marketing, finance, purchase, everybody is part of this apart from clinical services, support services. We do
Hmm.
one medical audit, we do some cyber security audit. So I think, and all these audits focus on patient centricity.
Hmm.
And we believe in patient experience, so we have a patient experience manager which is available. So that person, in coordination with all the HOD, while they do patient rounds, the chairman round, they take the feedback and try to solve or resolve the issue there. So we have like dial 30 we used to do. So any
Okay.
patient from the room can dial 30, it
Hmm.
goes to a call center, and after the problem is resolved, you know if it is not resolved in time or resolved, a call again goes back to the patient. And we see the efficiency of this different parameter like housekeeping services, maintenance services, nursing services. In fact, some of the rooms, if you see, I think I'm proud to say, first time in western part of India, we have a smart rooms. So if you
Oh.
see what is the requirement from the patient rooms, apart from seeing a doctor or a nurse, maybe he want AC to put off,
Hmm.
maybe he want you should put on curtain. He will say, just open up the curtain if there is a rain outside, if there is sunrise outside. Sometime he want to sleep, so he want to close the light, he want to put on the light. Sometime he want to hear songs, in fact some spiritual songs or some old
Yeah.
songs. So all those things, a staff, either he press the bell and a staff nurse will go inside, or
Hmm.
he will say, or she will say to the sons and daughters and wife and spouses, right? So now nuclear families, I think they are with you for some time, and then
Correct. Yes.
they move in the
Hmm.
hospital for certain work, or they are at their home, or they are in the offices. So we have created a smart room. In this, patient has to say, I want to hear Hanuman Chalisa. Automatically, Hanuman Chalisa start. Please put off the light. Light will get close. Please open up the curtain. Curtain will open. For all other medical needs, press the call bell. A staff nurse will come and a doctor will come. So you are minimizing the patient needs through this. So every time a nursing hour is also saved and patient is also happy. So now more and more patient require those smart rooms. What we have, we say a crown wing. So so we are improving the patient experience through that.
And that way, the time is also saved. The efforts of nurses, doctors are saved, and that time can be utilized in treating of the patients.
Yes.
Correct. And the satisfaction you're talking about the patient centricity, the needs of the patient is fulfilled, the family, everyone is satisfied, right? Even
Yeah.
if they are paying for that, and if your pocket or your heart doesn't ache if the money you're paying is worth it.
Yes. You're right. You're right.
Okay. And so when it comes to the services, the areas where administration jumps into work, or it makes the process very smooth for the hospital doctors, nurses, and the treatments to go smoothly. But everything has some kind of gap or lag in between, because it's ultimately it's a human effort.
Right.
Sometimes
Right.
human fails and the time delays. So where do you see such gaps in matlab, you have a vast experience in hospital management, you would have experienced many challenges or incidents in that. So where do you see that gap, and how can this new startup industry or the people who's this the generation which only focuses on innovation to create such things like the smart rooms you're talking about, and that way they can save the time, how can they come in and be expert of this field, or learn from this?
I think these days, if you see, so many startups are there. So I think more than 50% of startup revolve around healthcare space.
Correct. Yes.
So I feel the gap between the patient and the medical attention, if we can bridge it. Say, for example, uh, generally, in spite of all the insurance available, in spite of all the scheme available, funds vis-a-vis the services or vis-a-vis procedures. So I think there is a gap between that these days. If you see medical treatment, if you right, because I think most of the hospital, corporate hospitals specifically, they have a center of excellence. So generally this, like say for example, stroke, heart attacks, all those things, so they require a huge amount of money. So I think startups can come up into the financial space, where they can make, like say for example, whenever we go to shop anything, this QR code help us a lot.
Yes. Correct.
Even if you want a cup of tea in the morning, 10-20 rupees you can pay through QR. So I think if we have certain startups who can thought of the gap, like say for example, I always feel, you pay at one place and automatically your account is debited across. Like you
Hmm.
go enter a food court and you pay at one place, and your amount is debited across. I think one thing is that space which always they can talk about. And because over a period of time, I've seen, insurance policies also getting exhausted, though there are certain ventures who, crowd money is there, but I think they're still, I've heard some of the startup who have approached some time back. So they are creating a space where the accident which is happening on the road, a trauma
Hmm.
accidents and all, the immediate medical attention has to be given to them. So some sort
Yes.
of arrangement where these people can, startup can make a space or some pool, like, we require a blood, so there is a blood bank, right? So I think startup can bridge this gap, that is more helpful for healthcare. Certain startup has come up, like more than 50% money is credited through insurance companies and TPAs and corporates. So there the startup can pitch in, where the claims versus the recovery of money from various corporate like ONGC, Western Railways,
Correct.
insurance companies, because if you see any good hospitals with a good amount of footfall is sitting on a crores of outstanding, you know, from
Yeah.
the various payers. So I think that space is there, which makes you upload the document and immediately, of whatever requirement, everybody requirement is different. So if you do that, and funds can be transferred to hospital in a certain times. So that can be a boon for the healthcare provider also, and about the patients also, which I was talking about, a trauma or some funding, or a platform where they can raise the funds and they can get for the critical procedure or a surgery.
Very well said, sir. Because I just got get an example while you were addressing this, accident has happened, a trauma, and there where a person can reach to the immediate medical help, or let's say the blood bank. It is. I won't say it was a medical emergency, but I was going somewhere and a car broke. So I couldn't find in middle of the highway where to find a driver, and it was an unknown place, unknown city. I just opened Just Dial. I got a number of
Right.
mechanic. He came in 15 minutes, repaired
Yes.
my car, and I was able to go wherever I was going. So there my operation wasn't stopped. That way the new innovations, the Just Dial is a platform created by someone, or let's say it was a startup earlier, but now
Hmm.
it has helped a lot of people. So similarly, like you were addressing, how a medical assistant reach immediately can help during the
Yes.
accidents or somewhere according to the situation, it can help the blood blank requirement. But
Because I
so
think
we
time is very
yeah.
important. I think timing is very important in healthcare. So whenever you fall, you met an accident or any other thing, I think the sooner you reach to the hospital, you
Yeah.
can save the life. I think time is golden here.
Very very precious. It would be better for the family members, and for the mainly for the person, life can be
Yes.
saved that way.
Yes.
And like you said, that way hospitals can invest, they can transfer funds, and they can come with us and together work. So if a startup is out there in the healthcare segment only, and they want to work with the hospitals or healthcare brands industry, so that they can all together be in the same motive to save lives with efficiently. So how can a startup, approach a hospital for this collaboration or partnership, and grow their hospital networks to provide the services very effectively?
I think like hospitals always allow the hospital management students to come 6 months, 3 months, 1 year. They also allow a physiotherapist, they allow a nutritionist. So biomedical engineer, they come and spend some time into the hospital. They train and
Yeah.
they see the processes. So I think if anybody who want to work in a healthcare space startup, I think they can spend some time in the hospital. We should have a empanel hospitals. These are hospital where they can work, understand the process, and maybe that posting will help us to to make their startup venture more fine and more granular. Otherwise what will happen if you're working from the Excel sheet, like
Hmm.
what we say, we have a laptop managers who spend more time into the laptops, so they will see the real problem right there. For example, hospital, what happened, you know data generally don't talk to each other. There is a lab data, there is a radiology data, there is a finance data, there is a operation data. So these data don't talk to each other, right? So
Correct.
generally hospital declare, they declare software, they make a software where they take data from every place and create their own dashboards,
Hmm.
right? Center of excellence wise, patient wise, operations wise, surgery wise. So I think two things. One, we should have a platform where all this data pull in, because data is not talking to each other, so
Yes.
that you have because I think this is these are the days of big data analytics. So if you are not deciphering the data, if you're not studying the data, I think you will struggle a lot. So this startup can play a very, very important role. Say, for example, in the city of Ahmedabad or Bangalore or Delhi. So I don't know what is a cardiology, actually, what is a big cardiology market. Say, for example, there's a cardiology market of, say, for example, 2,000 procedure every month, right?
Correct.
Or
Hmm.
50 crore business of cardiology. What
Hmm.
X hospital is getting, what percentage X hospital is getting, what Y is getting. So I know the gap. I know, the gap. This is a market and I am a 10% part of it or 15% part of it.
Hmm.
So I think, like, say, for example, I always like book my show, you want to see a film, you want to see anything, see how many seats available. So I think if you go to the hospital, you don't know in your city how many hospitals, how many beds, how many ventilator beds, how many beds are full, how many beds are vacant,
Hmm.
specialists available. So you don't see all those things. So I think that can be, that can be used by startups, and we can use these people, brains and mind, to give a code for this.
Very well said, sir. And if we get a platform where we can check the reservations, the vacancies, the berths, where we can book our seat to go somewhere, then it's
Yes,
just a travel. It's just moving from one city
yes,
to another. Then why not for
yes,
a medical hospital, a hospital
yes,
bed, where actually
yes.
that is the necessity.
Uh, and you require those hospital beds when you are not okay.
Yes, correct. Where we can take a timely action, timely decision. Okay, this hospital or that hospital. This hospital doesn't have
Yeah,
the bed.
they should be empowered. I think we as customers should be empowered.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So I want to go for my uncle CABG surgeries. I
Hmm.
don't know that 10, 15 hospitals in the city. I don't know where to go. So subsequently, which hospital is doing CABG? Okay, these many. What is a cost per package? Okay, these are the which doctors are available, where the slots are available on them. So I can do that, na?
With customer ratings,
Yeah.
patients rating.
Yes. Yes.
So I think while discussing these questions, we have come up with an idea, and this idea can be taken by any of the aspiring startup person and can make a venture out of it, and surely
Yeah.
can pitch to you Apollo
Yeah.
Hospital,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
healthcare industry can take it forward.
True.
So you have a vast experience of 22 years and the background education you have done. I would just like to get one, two, three, or number of advices you would like to give to a startup entrepreneur, a founder, where they can learn from your experience and surely cannot would not repeat that mistake, or that learning journey from yours, if someone has to learn.
I think, as I told you, mentioned, like, people are these days, if you find, including the hospitals, people are laptop managers. So
Hmm.
healthcare is a patient driven, right?
Hmm.
You cannot, like soldiers, they go to the field and fire the gun there. You cannot, it is not a video game where you sit on your laptop and play video game and something is happening. So I think healthcare is a place where I think day in and day out something is happening on the floors. So I think people have to spend time on the shop floors, in the wards, ICUs, OPDs, ORs, and everything. And then they see, I'm sure if some of the startup people, they spend time in the hospital and see, I think they can give us better solutions to the problem which patients are facing. Like, I was in Hyderabad, and there was one camera which is CCTV cameras,
Hmm.
and they capture the emotions of the patients, like somebody is happy, somebody is sad, somebody is irritated. So that camera used to capture happiness index. So immediately it captured the happiness index and it goes to a customer care manager. She used to see, oh, that particular patient is not happy. She proactively go and talk to that patient, what is happening.
Wow.
So see that kind of a thing, and these kind of ideas you get once you are there. So I think that makes a difference, I feel. So my advice is to spend some time on the floors of the hospital, see what is happening in OR, in the OPD, in the scopies rooms, in the critical care. Of course, work with your mentor in the hospital. So many corporate hospitals are there, which will give you chance. And I think a good solution can be given, which is in the interest of the patient as well as for the hospitals.
So be in the field and then become the mastermind is we would
Yes,
sum up like that way.
right. Don't sit on the laptop and fire the gun from there.
And then make a strategy and the plans
Make
and
the
stuff.
strategy to address that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got very great experiences, incidents, and word of advices from you. Even I am not from this entrepreneurship or the startup things, because I think this required great masterminds, and usse pehle I think the person requires a lot of courage, to put in their heart, mind, soul, everything there, like you have done in your the vast experience of management administration in hospitals for healthcare services for the patients out there, for the families. And it requires an immense courage, you know like I said earlier, I have seen all these things where you have to leave your family aside and then work on the field. It requires a lot of courage, lot of strength, and lot of hard work, determination to be there all the time. And that is one of the advice, or let's say experience, which I have a little bit from my journey. I would say for every field, whether you're a soldier, whether you're a employee, whether you're entrepreneur, anywhere, that
Right.
is required. Thank you so much, sir.
True.
Thank you so much for your advices, insights. We have got to learn so many things, and I believe our listeners, who are the aspiring startup founders, budding startup owners, will obviously learn from this and will put this advice into the field, and will be there for the healthcare industry to help them out.
Thank you very much and stay healthy and stay happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Same to you, sir.